What is up, everybody? We're back with a new Fntd update, and in this update they added a good lot of stuff, including over here in the unit workshop, new evos. They added a mailbox and all sorts of fun stuff. So we're gonna check out the new units, go a bit over some of the new stuff, and just check out this new update. So first and foremost, we got the mailbox over here, which is basically trading without trading. If you have enough Faz rating, you can send people stuff. A cool little thing. And then over here with the evolve units, we're actually going to go over these. There's a new Evo for Blossom, which is the Gaia Chica they brought back. There's Withered Golden Freddy, Foxy, Shiny Withered Freddy, even Trash in the game got one. And we're just going to check out all these new units. So that's enough dilly-dallying, and let's head into Endless. Okay, now that we're here in Endless, we have most of the new units. There's one more after this. So let's check out these units, what they look like, and check out all their passives and stuff. So first we'll start off with Gaia Chica, the return of the Fntd 1 unit. The Forgotten, this time it's an Apex, so besides that ability, it's been a good lot. Gromain Expansion creates a nature domain in this unit's range for 30 seconds. Nature units in domain get plus 30% damage and minus 10% cooldown. Gaia Chica gains plus 50% damage and minus 15% cooldown instead. Duration is extended by 1 second per stock, so the stocks like your lives, up to 15 seconds. The first 3 activations generate plus 1 stock, so you can get extra stock. And then Blossom Bloom. Every 5 seconds spawns a Rose Trap anywhere on the track for 75% of this unit's damage. Increased to 100% if spawned during Gromain Expansion with a max of 10. Rose Traps generate 50% more income on hit, increased by 2% per max stock. Rose Traps shoot thorns every 3 seconds, dealing 1% of the unit's damage per max stock in 15 range, increasing to 1.5 during Gromain Expansion. Healing Root. Every 8 kills from Gaia Chica gain 1 Healing Root stack. Each stack prevents 2 seconds of stun on a unit, and a single stun can only be reduced once. Persistent Vines. On attack, apply Rooted, applying an increasing slow at 2% per second. When Rooted reaches 30% slow, stun the enemy for 1.5 seconds and remove Rooted. If the enemy has stun lockout, deal 200% of the unit's damage instead. When Gromain Expansion is active, Rooted slow increase to 50% fast. So that's cool. I love how they play on Gromain Expansion. It's fun to play on words. And now we have Nature Reclaimed Foxy, which I believe is the overgrown Foxy Evo. Drifter's Blessing. One place this unit generates an additional stock. Units in range, damage buffed by 30%, range buffed by 30%, and cooldown reduced by 5%. Gronin, I think that's how you pronounce that. Just let that right here. When a boss spawns, create a clone of this unit. That's cool. I thought I read that wrong for a second. 33% of this unit's damage. Clone teleports to the next boss when it leaves range. Buff this unit's damage by 5% per nature / rush unit on the team. By 3% per max stock. By 2.5 per missing stock. So that's fun. Now we have Afterbite Withered Golden Freddy. So that's the Withered Golden Freddy Evo, I should say. Closed for Restoration. Enemies in the latter half of the track take 25% more damage from this unit. This unit gains 5% damage per enemy on the track, deals 10% damage to Necromancer enemies. I didn't know there were Necromancer enemies, and deals 25% damage to their summons. Keep Out. Enemies within 60% of this unit's range, slowed by 30%, take 10% of this unit's damage every second. Once an enemy is 10 studs from the exit, knock back 3 tiles. If an enemy is a boss, stun for 2.5 seconds instead. So it's got a nice little boss, and that's cool. And we have Fntd.exe, which I believe is a FNAF role character. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Go fishing. Enemies hit by corrupted data permanently generate 20% more income, generate 40% more income while this unit is hitting them. If the enemy is a tank, apply a permanent bleed that deals 5% of this unit's damage every second. Corrupted data. First hit per enemy deals 100% more damage. Apply 50% bleed over 5 seconds, bypassing DOT immunity. Stun for 1.5 seconds. Or stun for 1.5 seconds. Every 10 seconds, buff this unit's damage by 50% for 5 seconds. That's a nice one. And then we have Commander Withered Freddy. Adaptive Tactics. When 3+ enemies are in the range, decrease this unit's damage by 40%, increase this unit's range by 35%, and reduce this unit's cooldown by 25%. Increase this unit's AoE to 210 cone. After not attacking for 5 seconds, buff this unit's damage by 20% every second until the unit attacks max of 100%. Buff is removed after 3 attacks. If damage buff reaches max value, buff this unit's damage by 50%, decreasing this unit's AoE to a 25 cone. Strength in numbers. For every unit in range, buff this unit's damage by 5%, buff all units in range by 1%. So, yeah, 160%, that's nice little buff. And then we have Trashotron. Passive. Bits and bobs. Every attack is randomly decided between electric panhand, and flamethrower. So yeah. Pan. Line AoE, stun for 1.2 seconds, deals 20% damage. Flamethrower. Wide cone AoE applies 50% burn over 5 seconds, deals 30% damage to mystery enemies, deal 3 hits worth of shield damage if the same attack happens 3 times in a row. Next attack becomes full AoE with double damage, applies the effect of the attack that was not used 3 times to double the value where applicable. Assorted parts. Every 3 upgrades places one of the 3 traction the gang members as a sub-tower with 25% of their normal damage. Trashing the gang members in range gain 50% damage. This unit gains 50% per trashing the unit. So, up to... that's a lot. So, let's max them out and see. Oh, yeah. Does place 3 little trashing the gang members. And then, the last unit that we couldn't quite equip is Abyssal Ballora, which is a new raid unit for 350 tokens. So a good little bit. Tidal Shift. Every 30 seconds swap between high tide to low tide and low tide. High tide, plus 10% damage and plus 50% range in cone 150 AoE. Low tide, plus 50% damage and 10% range, cone 90 AoE. When changing tide, deal 200% of this unit's damage as full AoE and stun enemies hit for 2 seconds. Deals an additional 20% damage per water unit on the team. Eternal Float. This unit is immune to stuns. On attack, reduce this unit's cooldown by 3%, resetting when changing target. Max of minus 15%. Every other attack deals 1.2 damage. If the cooldown buff is maxed, every attack deals 1.2 damage. That's a fun little... Alright, now let's check out the shinies. We'll just start with our shiny Abyssal. Ooh, she turns into like a nice purple color, which happens to be my favorite color. The best of the colors. Gaia. Same with that, it comes like purpley type of color scheme. Let's check out Nature Reclaimed. Oh, that's kind of disappointing. It's just like a darker shade. Looks like he's made more of wood overall. Not my favorite shiny, but still good looking. And now our Afterbite Withered Freddy, which turns him into like a Shadow Freddy, and his sign says saying warning says it's me, which is cool. Okay, now Foxy.exe. turns into like mafia looking dude. And blue air, or not air, code in the back, I guess. Now let's check out Commander. And he turns into Golden Freddy, like the normal Withered Freddy looks. And so I looked at this earlier because I made one, but the Trashatron currently doesn't have a shiny. I guess you could say he has a little bit of a different color scheme, but that might just be perspective, making stuff look darker. But what I do know that I checked is it does spawn shiny trash in the game, but it should be getting a shiny soon. But yeah, that's all the new units in this update. I'd say this was a pretty good update, and thank you all for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.